Hi, boys and girls. So today's flip lesson is over nonfiction text features. This is an exciting transition into nonfiction text. We've done a lot with fiction text so far this year, and now we're starting to transition into nonfiction text, which will bring us into looking closely and analyzing text features as well as text structures, which will be introduced to you throughout the coming weeks. But for right now, we're going to focus on just the text features. Before I get into what those are, let's just remind ourselves what a nonfiction text is. So if you look at all of the pictures I've provided for you here, notice that they're all types of writing that are factual or true. Informational text is the same thing as nonfiction text. So when you hear nonfiction, that word non means not fiction. So we know fiction texts involve characters and settings and a problem and a solution. There's a series of plot events. That's not necessarily the case in a nonfiction text. The purpose of them is to inform you, to teach you, and they are written based on true facts and events. Now, there is such a thing as a narrative nonfiction, which is a type of writing that tells about a true event in the form of a story, but it still falls under the nonfiction category because the details and facts within the narrative are true. So just remember, nonfiction is informational, it's factual and true. Fiction text is made up and is not based on true facts or events. So let's ask ourselves, what in the world are text features? And I say that word, but as I get into it, you'll probably start to realize that you actually have encountered text features before when reading nonfiction texts. They're used to help the author kind of help the reader better understand what they've read. A lot of times in nonfiction text, you just are surrounded by a lot of information, and sometimes it's nice as a reader to have different text features to help guide you and to help you understand what it is you have read. So they provide information that may not be explicitly written in the text itself. They can be found in textbooks, magazine articles, newspapers, web pages, and any other form of nonfiction text. So really, again, the purpose is from the author to help the reader better understand what it is they are reading. And I kind of already said some of this, but I want to point out that text features really enhance what the author is trying to say, and it really makes the information look more visually appealing. A lot of times, if you're like me, you might look at a piece of nonfiction writing and very quickly become unengaged or uninterested because it's just so many words. But with text features, the author is trying to keep you engaged and help attract you to the important information in a way that's not just words. So it's actually a benefit to readers to have text features to make the nonfiction writing more interesting. So in a moment, you're going to be reading a form of a newspaper. It's centered around the holiday Groundhog Day, which happened on Sunday, February 2nd. And this is the Groundhog Daily News. And basically, the Groundhog Daily News has given us every form of text feature we could possibly discuss. And we're just going to go through this really quickly. I'm going to kind of talk over the most important text features before sending you off on your own assignment using this newspaper. So if you notice here, each text feature section of the Groundhog Daily News is labeled with letters. So starting with A, we have the title. Well, the title is the overall title or name of the thing that you are reading. So the title of our newspaper is the Groundhog Daily News. If you've ever read the Louisville newspaper is called the Courier-Journal. The Bardstown newspaper is the Kentucky Standard. That is the title of that newspaper publication. And the title of magazines is also, that also counts. Nonfiction books have titles, of course. So that's your topic that you are being given. And then B, we have a subheading and a fact box. And this subheading, as you can see, is called The Legend of the Groundhog. And when we think about main idea and details, the main idea is usually given to us in a subheading. It kind of goes ahead and tells us the topic of what we're going to be reading in the following section. So we know by this subheading that we're going to be reading about the legend of the groundhog. And there's also some information given to us here in this B section. C shows us a map, as well as D, which is a close-up of a map. So if you'll notice, C has a blue star, and that's where Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania is located, where the site of the Groundhog Day festivities happen each year. But then the D section shows us a close-up of the state of Pennsylvania. So here we're seeing a map of the entire United States, but where that little blue star is, D gives us a close-up of what that state of Pennsylvania actually looks like. And I can venture to guess that this map of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania tells us a little bit more about Groundhog Day and the legend of the groundhog. It fits in with the topic of what we are reading, and it helps people like me who may not know where Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania is. So I've already learned something just by looking at this close-up. E is a glossary, and we've talked about glossaries before. Sometimes they're given to us on the actual page with keywords that are bolded in the text, and they'll give us a definition so that we can better understand the text and its overall meaning. But sometimes glossaries are found in the back of a book, and in that case, any bolded words that you see, like oftentimes in a textbook, you'll have to go all the way to the back of the book and look the word up in alphabetical order in order to read the definition of that word. But like I said, sometimes a glossary is provided on the page itself, which is a nice tool, especially if it's a word that you're not familiar with. It helps your overall comprehension of what you're reading. So here we have another subheading and fact box with F, just tells us that we're going to be reading about the celebration of Groundhog Day. Here I want to draw your attention to H, the bulleted list. Bullets are just a way of organizing information in a way that's not sentences. So back to the idea of making information more visually appealing for the reader, it's quicker and easier for us to read the bulleted list and just quickly read those quick facts. It says the groundhog is known by many names, and it lists those off in a bullet instead of in sentences. So it's just another way of giving us information, and it kind of breaks up the text so we're not reading it sentence after sentence after sentence. So J, we see a subheading. It says all about the groundhog, everything you need to know. So this is just another subheading of the topic of Groundhog Day and what we're learning about the groundhog. K is a photograph, so you see a groundhog pictured there. L is another bulleted list. M, notice there's a picture of a groundhog, but it also includes some words underneath. We call that a caption, and you're probably familiar with captions in regards to social media. Instagram always involves captions. When we post a picture, we put a caption with the picture. Oftentimes the same thing with Facebook or Twitter. So it's just putting words with the picture. And then once again, N shows us a glossary of keywords on this page. O gives us a title for this section, Hibernation Facts. P, we have another bulleted list. Q gives us a fact box, which is just a section that highlights a fun fact that's, again, put in a different section other than maybe a key set of paragraphs or words, just again to make the information a little more visually appealing. So now you are going to show what you know using this resource and some task cards. And you're going to do this by going to Class Kick. So on your choice board, there should be a link that says Class Kick Task Cards. And this is what your assignment is going to look like. I have included what I just covered with you so that you can refer back to this. You're going to need to refer to this in order to respond to the task cards. But there are 1, 2 pages of the actual Groundhog Daily News. And then these task cards are obviously where you are going to answer the questions regarding the Groundhog Daily News. And you should have picked up a recording sheet. If you've not already done so, it's in the orange basket. So if we look at number 1, for example, it says, look at the text features labeled A, G, J, and O. What are these called? So you're going to need to go back to those first 2 pages. We're looking for A, G. So there's A, there's G, J's on the next page, and O's on the next page. Now, if you don't remember exactly what those were called, it does give you some options, index, titles, or table of contents. If you don't remember what those are called, where do you think you can go back and review that information? That's right. You can go back on this video, go back and listen over my words again when I went over those sections. But if you already know the answer, like I know the answer is B, titles, you will record B next to number 1 on your recording sheet. And there are a total of 30 of these, 30 task cards. Once you have completed the task cards, you're going to turn in the recording sheet to your pouch. So do your best. If you have any questions, ask a friend, or of course, go back and review parts of this video and have fun.